Hey, how's it going, YouTube? So today I have a bit of a different topic of conversation. Tire valves, but not for your dirt bike. So what I wanted to talk about today was our tow rigs, our trucks, our vehicles that we use to get us to the races. Some of you, like me, travel long distances to go race around Ontario, into the States. Some of you take trips like I do. And listen, you know, getting a flat tire in your truck or SUV or whatever it is that you're using to get to and from races can ruin what could be a really good day. And recently, on a trip just to Calabogie, which is only about an hour from me, I came out to my truck in the morning after it was all loaded up and realized I had a flat tire. And I searched the tire to see if there was a hole in it or anything stuck in it. And what I actually found was the cheap tire valve was basically cracked, dried out, not working. And I'm going to show you what a cheap tire valve looks like. What I wanted to talk to you about today, though, is tire valves and alternative options. So I'm going to put a couple pictures into the video here, but Colby tire valves. So I searched for tire valves in general, because for most tire valves and most cheap tire valves that your dealership are going to put in, you actually need to remove the tire to replace them. And so, you know, I'm staring Calabogie in the face and I can't make it there. And I said to myself, like, okay, you know, there's got to be a way to get away from these, you know, cheap tire valves that seem to crack and leak and cause all kinds of issues, and you can't plug them. And so my research led me to Colby tire valves. You'll see a picture, and there's a few different kinds there, which I will explain. The green package, which is the ones that I have here, are your regular length tire valves. They're made for, you know, permanent replacement of cheaper tire valves, and they're good to go. And I'm going to talk about those in more detail coming up. The red package are emergency tire valves. So you can install those into a set of rims without any tools whatsoever. And you don't need many tools for this, but for the red package, you don't need any. And then I believe the other package is blue. And what those are is those are permanent replacement tire valves like this, but they're a shorter version. And some guys who really do a lot of off-roading want the shortest tire valve they can possibly get. But this is a regular length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you over to my truck and I'm going to show you the difference between the two, because I've had two of these installed now for thousands of kilometers and they have worked absolutely great. And I'm going to show you what I mean there. Okay, so first things first, that is a tire valve that you would get from any, you know, regular store that is replacing hundreds of tires a day, Canadian Tire, what have you. It's going to be a little difficult to hold the light onto it, but that should be good enough for the purposes of right now. So the rubber, hear that? Didn't even know that was leaking. But so what that tells me is that somewhere up there, you can see it. I didn't even know this. You see how it's cracked? Should be able to see it. That's what happens with these rubber tire valves. Okay. And so now I want to show you what the Colby looks like. Now that's the Colby tire valve installed. So in the front tire of my truck, both front tires, I have these installed. I did them myself. It takes very little time, and these are incredibly sturdy. You can't get these to flex. You can't move them. It's a solid, I think, brass unit, but they're not going anywhere. You know, sticks aren't going to make them bend. They're not going to crack. They're not going to leak. They have a seriously thick washer that goes in, and I'll show you how that works here in a second. But they're not going anywhere. Absolutely fantastic product. I put them on my truck. Haven't leaked a PSI of air. They've been absolutely great, and I no longer worry about what's going to happen while I'm towing my bike back and forth to races, because I carry plugs, I carry a spare, I carry all that other stuff. But if your tire valve goes, you are literally screwed. All right, so what do you need to install them? Well, you don't need much. you need to purchase the tire valves. They come in 2 in a pack. I'm going to put a link at the bottom for the Canadian store on Amazon.ca where I could find them. Very reasonable, $36 in change for a pack of 2, which might sound expensive, but these are basically permanent. They're going to last forever. So about $70 to do all 4 wheels, and free shipping for Amazon Prime members from, and I'm going to put the name of the actual user, the store name that sells through Amazon, because you can actually find them on other Canadian websites, but when you start adding $20 to ship them, then it starts to get a little bit more expensive. So I'll put them that name across the bottom of the video. So you get 2 valves, 2 caps, and that's basically it. You probably want a valve core remover. That's going to make things a lot easier. Some sort of a pick, just something, needle nose pliers, because I'll show you what we're going to do there. And then of course you're going to need you know, a jack and ideally a safety stand, because what I like to do is actually take the weight off the tire so that when I make the tire go flat, you know, it doesn't collapse on itself under the weight of the truck. So I try to get that side up and go from there. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is let the air out of the tire. It's just going to make things easier. I prefer to use a valve core removal tool. You can see how flexy those valves are. Okay, so the wheel is up off the ground. I'm probably going to get in my own way here a little bit when it comes to the light, but basically what we are going to want to do is, you can see that these just go through the rim. There's nothing fancy about it. You just got to get this old valve stem out. Now, there's a good chance that you're going to leave something on the inside, probably a piece of rubber, the very end of the valve stem. It's very difficult to get out without actually taking the wheel off. From my perspective, I haven't worried about it too much. So there's that piece is off. Okay. And then obviously there's this next bit that is, I mean, it's stuck inside the wheel. I'll be surprised if I get this actually out and it doesn't go and fall into the tire itself, but that's okay. Okay, all right, so that's gone. Listen, if you actually really care about your rims, you probably want to be a little bit more careful. So there's, you know, there's a little tiny piece of rubber ball now that's inside the rim. I couldn't get them out on the other one either. There are techniques to get them out. For me, it hasn't obviously bothered anything. It's not going to affect the balance of the wheel or anything you're talking about. You know, just the very end of a valve stem. It's all rubber. There's no metal in it. So that's it. So I'll get this all cleaned up because you want a smooth sealing surface, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I also have a bit of a bad angle here because of how I'm trying to film it while I work on it, so I actually can't see it quite as well as I could when I was doing the front, but that's okay. I honestly, like, for me, a scratch on a rim, you can see I slipped with the tool here, but like, for me, it doesn't really matter. And honestly, on these black rims like that, if I really wanted to, I could buff them out. But this truck is a work truck. It's definitely not, it's a daily driver, but it's definitely gets used as a truck, so I'm not too concerned about it. You know, it's interesting because a lot of us who are into dirt biking don't necessarily off-road with our, you know, rigs, if that's what we're going to call them. But we do get ourselves into some places trying to get, you know, to trailheads and get in, you know, even for races or big events and stuff like that. You know, you get your truck into some places where, you know, getting a flat tire is going to be pretty tricky, you know, where you could be, you know, going through mud, or you could be going through rocks, or you could be going through, you know, underbrush a little bit, and that's what's going to get your valve stem. It's going to be, you know, get hit by something, get pulled, get bent, and you can see what happened with the other one. It literally, the only thing holding air in was the fact that it wasn't bent because it had a big crack in it. So anyway, okay, so that's it. Now, you can see in the valve stem, you know, think about your hand guards for those of you that ride enduro. Really, all you do is you're going to sink this into the rim. This piece is going to get tight and it's going to pull against this rubber washer and it's going to seal it up. That's a 13 millimeter nut on the end of it, but it is quite simply that easy. So you get it pushed in, get it sitting flush. Okay, make sure that it's nice and loose, but get it sitting flush with the rim. And then once it's in there and you're confident it's in there, what you want to do is, as you're screwing it in, you want to be applying pressure, keeping it up against the rim, because you don't want to be pulling on it at all. But you basically just tighten it up now. Now I've heard there's torque specs for these. You can see the rubber washer gets, you know, it's going to start to get pretty flat. And to be honest, I didn't want to over torque it and tear that washer. So I just basically, I'm applying pressure on it, and then I just start tightening it up. And it's going to start squeezing that rubber washer up against the rim here. So you can tell when you get it tight. So on the front, you can see there's just a little bit of wiggle there. On the front, there's no wiggle whatsoever. When they get tightened right up, when they're snug enough, it becomes an extremely sturdy unit. You can see it's starting to pull on that washer. The washer wants to turn a little bit with it. Okay, I don't think that's enough yet. No, not quite. Okay. And now I don't have to apply pressure to it anymore. It is literally pulling in. Use your finger if you have to kind of stop it from spinning if it's wanting to spin, but that's it right there. I think that's pretty much perfect. All right, and then one of the tricks you can do is, if you really want to or you're worried about it, you can fill it up, and while you're filling it, you can spray. If you have a mixture of like dish soap and water, you can spray to see if there's any bubbles that are coming up with it. I'm basically so confident in them now that I don't even really check for it. I'll pay attention to it over the next few days, but like they just work so well that I'm so happy with them that I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna fill it up and go from there. All right, and then we just fill it up. There we go, and that's all there is to it.